about 16 years ago, there were two irresponsible young men racing down the highway. And of course, as you know, well, as you know, I mean, you guys of all should know about testosterone in young men and the nonsense that goes on in their brains. Well, these two young men were trying to make sure that both of them had used the same lane. There were 3 lanes on the highway, but hell, they were determined to get in the one because the one was the fast lane and there was no way. Anyway, they managed to start bumping each other because they wanted that lane so desperately, driving down the highway. And eventually, they hit each other so hard that the car rolled and spun across the road and started sliding across the road, grinding the top of the roof away. And yes, my head was me. I was one of those stupid, irresponsible young men. My head was ground away, my neck was broken, and I landed up in the ICU. Wow, didn't I do a great job? I got the lane, hell but I also got the paralysis and lost the top of my head. No, I wasn't this ugly all the time. This was as a result of the accident. But the reality was, there I was lying in hospital and I couldn't move. And I believe that when you have a challenge, and let's face it, lying in hospital, not being able to move was a pretty big challenge. When you have a challenge, you need to find a way past it, find a way around it, find a way over it. It's called the ant philosophy. Have you ever seen ants? If they come to an obstacle, what do? Do they just sit back and say, oh, this is too hard? They find a way over it, they find a way around it, they find a way through it, they eat it, they make a plan. They find a way to make it disappear. Well, anyway, while I was lying in hospital, I decided, well, I need something big. So I decided I was going to run comrades the next year. Anyway, the doc comes walking into the room, and you guys probably know, although you probably deal with different patients, but anyway, little rag grin on his face, looking down, thinking, well, it's tough. This is really tough, but things happen, and you're kind of going to have to get used to where you're at. And I looked up at him and I went, Doc, I'm running comrades next year. Kind of got this little grin on his face and went, right. Have big goals, young man. Aim for the stars. Go big. Okay, absolutely. But I did go big. Listen, the first thing wasn't running comrades. The first thing was to move, was to kind of get things happening. Again, small little victories every day. Small little things. But what was my incentive? And this is one of the secrets to success. You've got to have a big why behind whatever you want to do. Until you understand your why power, you're going to need to use your willpower. So find out. I had a big why. Well, walking was pretty important, okay? So I had a big why. I had a big reason why I needed to take those actions every day. You need to search in your life and you need to find something, a reason, something big that you want to aim for. But have a reason to aim for it. Have a reason, because remember the magnet? There's positive and negative stuff going to happen. So yes, on your way to success, you're going to encounter some challenges. There's going to be great successes, but you're going to encounter challenges. When you come across those challenges, what are you going to do? Are you going to give up? Or are you going to persevere? Exactly. So you've got to persevere. So how do you persevere? When you have a big enough why. Persevering is easy. When it's aligned with your vision and your values. Because think about it, if you've got a woman and she's got 3 kids walking through the mall, what's she going to see? What are her values? She's going to see clothing for the children. She's going to see toys for the children. Walking with her husband who's an entrepreneur. He's going to see a totally different shopping center. His values are different. What are your values? Look at your values. Understand your value. Look introspectively. And find out what your values are. And when you find out what your values are, you then can find out your big why. That big motivating reason. That fire inside your belly that's going to make you keep taking those actions, taking those small positive steps every single day that you need to succeed. when those challenges come, you've got a way to get past them. I did run comrades next year, and I ran 3 times in Sydney. If anyone ever says to you, run comrades, let me tell you the solution. You lie on the floor, okay, and you get a family member to hit you on the bottom of your feet with a 16-pound hammer. It's less painful, okay? Don't ever run comrades. Hell no. We all think that we need to reboot our lives. And that's what I want to tell you guys here tonight. You don't. You're 95% of the way to your success. 95% of the way to finding and discovering the big positive you. But we all hold ourselves away from it with a tiny, minuscule, the last few steps we don't take them. My son was in matric and he was battling. And my wife and I went away for our usual once a year little sojourn where we go and have a look at how do we sort our lives out? You know, what are our plans for the next year? And we were walking around, and obviously at that stage, because he was battling 5 months before the end of the year, he was really battling with matric, and we were kind of saying, well, you know, we need to get him some help, and we need to. And then of course, Brainbox, she comes up and she says, well, what about you? Now, you know that Taylor's always the best dressed or the worst dressed in town, and well, okay, my son was the worst in class. So anyway, so I thought, well, hang on a second, there are some things I can do. So we started just making small shifts, changes in attitude, changes in the way that he did things. The last 5 months of the year, he went from, well, he was going to be a plumber, then he was going to be an electrician, then he was going to bum around Europe for a year, not knowing what the heck he was going to do, to getting the most improved student of the year award, passing matric, going out, deciding, I want to be a pilot, I'm going to do what it takes to be a pilot. Dad's not going to dig out of his pocket and just hand out the cash. I'm going to make a plan, which he has, and he's well down the line becoming a pilot. Overcoming challenges. We didn't have time to reboot his whole life. We just made small changes, small shifts. And that's what you need to do. Look at your life and look at what's working, do lots more of that, and look at what's not working and do a hell of a lot less of that. It's that simple, guys. I know it seems simplistic, but it really is that simple. Get rid of the rubbish and do more of the good. You'll be astounded at the results that you start to see in your life. Absolutely astounded. They take the beef, they chase it through the fire, they cut its tail off and they wipe its butt and then they serve it on the plate. In fact, my wife actually thought that a good vet could revive this meat. So, okay, it was bad. So the stuff arrived now, and how are we? We're polite, aren't we? You don't go, excuse me, could you just stick this back on the fire a little bit? And, we're polite, so we cut this thing into 4 squares, and you sort of look up and no one's looking at you. And you gnaw through these 4 pieces and you think, now you can enjoy the veggies. No. The host looks over at my plate and she goes, oh, she says, you got through that at a pace. She says, I loved it. I absolutely adored that meat. I go, thank you. It was, she said, guess what? I've got 2 more in the kitchen for you. Okay, so there we go. We start. How many of you are doing that with your life right now? How many of you get to the end of the day and you go, that was okay. I'm going to get up tomorrow morning and I'm going to have some more of those. Okay, how many? Okay. It's crazy, guys. You don't need to accept mediocrity. You don't need to accept less than your best. You don't ever need to give less than your best. Why? Why do we do that? Why do we sit and gnaw through that meat and suffer? Send it back to the kitchen. Let them cook it like you like it and enjoy it. Why aren't you doing that with your life? Why aren't you making the most of your life? Why do you accept less than your absolute maximum potential? Why do you give less than your absolute best? Why do we get up on a Monday morning, and why do most, and this is a scientifically proven fact, 80% of heart attacks, people's hearts attack them at 9 o'clock on a Monday morning. Why? Why? It's ridiculous. Okay, it's crazy. Because they hate what they do so much that they go to work and they let their heart attack them. I mean, it's bad. Okay? Guys, shift. Change the way you look at things. If you want the world to change, you need to change. Can I change the president? Not easily. Can I change interest rates? Maybe. Can I change any? No. If I can't change it, accept it. Work within it. If there's change going on in your work and you can't do anything about it, what are you going to do? Resist it. And let your heart attack you on a Monday. It's crazy. Crazy stuff. Don't resist change. Accept change. It's inevitable. It happens. You know, the Chinese have got a saying. They say, may you live in interesting times. But imagine the alternative. May you live in boring times. Who wants to be boring? I want excitement in my life. I want change in my life. Do you know the business cycle in the 50s was 30 years? So you could keep doing business the same way for 30 years. Cool. In fact, in those days, you'd phone and he'd say, you know, your 2 weeks' time, we've got a truck coming in your direction. We might have space on the truck to deliver it. Now, if you go onto the internet and it's not there in 15 seconds, you're concerned. You know what I'm saying? Times change. The business cycle is now, they say, 2.5 years. By 2020, it's going to be 11 months. So if you're still doing things the same way you did them, 11 months later in 2020, you're doing them wrong. So we've got to understand that we live in a very volatile world. Times are changing. Things are moving. It's becoming faster and faster and faster. The evolution, the change is becoming quicker and quicker and quicker. And you can either fit in or you can leave. Okay. When we look down that track, what do we see? If I'm, absolutely, but you know what? I look down that track, there's no train coming. Now imagine I'm standing at the railway station. There's no track, there's no train coming. So what do? Do I just give up? Do I go home? Or do I walk over to the, and have a look and go, okay, coming in 15 minutes, it's worth waiting for. What about your life? Is that your life? Are you just giving up because you're not seeing the train coming? You're not seeing those results? You're not seeing things happening in your life? Are you just giving up? Or are you walking up to the timetable and having a look and going, okay, it's all about. What is your timetable? Your timetable is your goals. You can either be like a paper cup that blows in a car park in the wind, or you can be somebody that has a plan. A genius without a roadmap will get lost in any city. But an average person with a map will be able to go to exactly where they want to go. Do you have any sort of a plan? Do you know that only 3% of the world's population have goals? 3%. Who owns most of the world's wealth? 3% of the population. Amazing correlation between those two, hey? Guys with goals, guys with cash. Not saying that cash is what it's all about, guys. But hell, it's nice to suffer in comfort, let's be honest. You know what I'm saying? You understand?